Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today I'm joined by Stevie. Stevie, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show today. This is going to be a fun interview. This is something I really believe in as well, and I'm excited to have the conversation. But Stevie, let's get to know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we always ask, what do you love about content and marketing?
All right. Okay. So I'm Stevie Ginolfi. I am the Director of Content Marketing at Deseret News. Before that, was at BYU TV for 5 years. And before that was at an ad agency that at the time was called Casting Andrews, is now called Make. And I went to BYU and cheered there. So that's a little bit about me.
What do you love about content and marketing?
It's fun. And I think this is probably a weird thing to say that I love about it, but I love that there isn't a right way to do it. You know what I mean? It's depending on who your company is, what you guys are trying to do, what your goals are, there are endless amounts of ways to do content. And so it's kind of like the Wild West, and it's just like a fun, I don't know, I just think it's fun. You can try new things. It's a type of marketing where being innovative and creative is like the only way to go. You have to try new things, or else you're in the past, I guess would be the way to say that.
Yeah, marketing is a game of trying to stand out. So I love your viewpoint there, because it is, how do I make a difference? How do I do something different? How do I be innovative and creative? That can be extremely frustrating sometimes when the ideas aren't flowing, but other times it's super rewarding. So I love that. Stevie, today we're going to talk about simplicity and why you should keep things simple. So first and foremost, why do you care about that? Why was that something when we were talking beforehand that really resonates with you?
I don't know why. Maybe it's just I've had coworkers and bosses, and as a marketer, I feel like your boss always cares about what you do. You are what people are seeing. So you are always there's always somebody having ideas of what you should be doing. So there's always the pressure to do it all, to say yes to everything. So for me, I'm very passionate about saying no, I guess. Saying yes to the correct things and saying no to the not correct things. I always use this example of the Cheesecake Factory and In-N-Out Burger. And I will say, disclaimer, everybody has different tastes. If you strongly disagree with me with what I say, that's fine, but you will understand my analogy. So you go to the Cheesecake Factory and they hand you a book, a legitimate book that has every type of food you could ever want, and it's all mediocre. Doesn't matter what you will get. It won't be bad, but it won't be great. Unless you get a cheesecake, then it's going to be excellent, obviously. But their massive book, they've given you every option you could ever have. None of it's great. You go to In-N-Out Burger, their menu has legitimately 5 things on it. I don't know the exact number, but not a lot. All of it is great. All of it is super fresh. So they have simplified their menu. They only do certain things, and it is really, really good. I like to say, when you're doing marketing, don't do the Cheesecake Factory where you're giving everybody everything they want and it's all mediocre at best. Give people In-N-Out Burger where you may only be giving them 2 things, but you're doing it really well.
I love that. And I think it's a great analogy. And I think it really hits home for a lot of people, regardless of their food preferences and everything there. So one question with that, there is a million things to say yes to that we should probably say no to, but how do we know when and where we should say yes? I think simplicity is really important, to focus on the things we're really good at. How do you find those things that are actually an area where the business should focus and should spend their time?
First off, if you don't know your audience, you don't know what to say yes to. So you have to know who your audience is. For example, when you look at the Deseret News, if I were to tell you the perfect story that is a Deseret News audience member, key audience, obviously we're news and we will reach any audience that we can, and There are a million people that can and do come to our sites for different stories, but the key audience for Deseret News, if you're asking me, would be a story about an athlete talking about their faith. And that to me is a really pinnacle Deseret News story that not a lot of news organizations do, but we do really, really well. And like, that's our key audience. So it's like, if anybody's ever bringing me something that fits that, I want to say yes, because I know our audience will eat it up. So I think if you know your audience, you can make those decisions.
I love it. So one of the questions I have is, obviously with simplicity, you're picking specific kinds of content, specific channels that you're really focusing on until you can nail it. When do you know that it's right to expand? Like, when do you know it's right to reach out and you've reached that point to really expand those efforts to new channels, new content, new whatever?
Yeah. So speaking of channels, I think it also is knowing what's going on. So I will speak to a couple of years ago now, I think, when Threads came. So we had, and I literally was on vacation in California when they dropped Threads. And I was like, of course, like, so I'm like on a couch, but there had been 800 other knockoff Twitter or X's. It will always be Twitter in my heart. I'm sorry. I will probably refer to it as Twitter. I know it is X, but there was so many different knockoff X's that they were trying to like take Twitter down. And I said no to every single one of them because they didn't have the potential of taking it over. I just knew that they wouldn't. So it wasn't worth my time to even try it. But when Threads came, they were the one that I felt like had the opportunity to actually take X down. So that one was the only one that I jumped on. So the second that it was created, I created a Deseret News and a Church News account and started posting on those. And I looked around and saw what everybody else was doing, and everybody else was just kind of mirroring their Twitter. And again, called it Twitter X. So I did the same thing, we were just mirroring what we were doing on our X account. And then the most important part though, was I didn't just keep doing that. I did that for about a week or two, and I said, this is bringing us nobody. Like I'm not going to remember the exact numbers, but we would get tens of thousands of link clicks on X. And I think this is the actual number. After a month in, we got 76 people to our website. And it was like, this is not worth it. And it didn't have a scheduling aspect on it on Threads. If they had scheduling, I probably would have still been doing it because it would be easier. But I literally was for my entire day, every half hour posting on Threads for the entire day. And I was like, that is not worth, again, I have a very small team. It was not worth mine or my team's effort to get 76 people to the website. So we made a conscious decision to cut it back. We didn't get rid of Threads, but we now post only our top stories of the day on Threads. We still post it throughout the day, but it's not as extensive as what we do on X. And so it's like, sometimes you have to say yes because you feel like there is the opportunity, but never say yes and then don't look back. Say yes, do your experiment, and then reevaluate, because don't waste your time if it's not worth it. Like Threads to us, it gets us people and we still use it, but we use it in a much more strategic, small way that is worth the time we're putting into the platform.
I love that. And I think that's so cool. I love your approach to how you're looking at the channels, saying yes to the biggest opportunities, knowing your audience, and really simplifying to say, let's do a couple things really, really well.
And I will say I was terrified when I went to my boss and be like, I want to cut it back. But I came armed. I was like, this is what X is giving us. This is what Threads is giving us. It's not worth it. And they were like, oh yeah, don't waste your time. You're good. But sometimes it's scary to go back and say, no, you know what I mean? It's scary to go to your boss or your higher up and make your case. But if you're backing your decision up, they have no reason to not agree with you.
Well, and honestly, two parts to that. Number one is if you're the one who brings it up to your boss and says, hey, this channel isn't working. Here's the data. I think we should cut it. That is so much better than having your boss come to you and say, hey, I was looking at the numbers. Why haven't we fixed this? Or what are we doing here? Or why are we still wasting our time here? And then the second part is always bring data to the table, because I think that that's easier to say no to people when you say, hey, if we do that, it'll take away from this. And here's the potential impact. Can this overcome that? And have people really think in terms of numbers. And I think it helps people kind of align around what you can and can't do as a team and what you're focusing on. So one other question, Stevie, that I have that's about the content itself, right? We talked about simplifying the channels and what you're doing, but when you're actually writing content, simplicity makes an impact on people being able to read the content, understand it, focus. But how can we utilize this real strategy of simplicity in actual content writing?
I love that question. And we had a really fun one this year where we made a change that we went, that was the most simple change. And of course it worked. But like, even as we did the testing, we were like nervous that it wasn't going to work. And so what it was, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Marketing is looking at other channels and taking from people and tweaking from people and seeing. I saw a post on Facebook by People, and their link, it was a photo post, and they put the link at the very top and then their caption, which most people have their caption and then the link. And I went, that's so simple. Of course, more people would click the link if it's at the top, because as soon as your caption's longer, and most photo post captions are longer, there's a see more. So you're not even seeing the caption. And so I went, well, duh, you're going to get more clicks if they're always seeing the link, when if you to the bottom, half of the time people don't even see the link. And so I was like, okay, let's test this. So we did the testing. We would post the same thing one time with the link at the top, one at the bottom. We would do A/B testing of it. And sometimes the link at the bottom would win, but most of the time the link at the top would win. At the end of the test, I just went, well, I'm glad the results were what I thought they would be, but it was such a simple change. And we have seen increase in clicks to our website from that. Literal, the easiest change in the entire world of moving a link from the bottom of a caption to the top. And again, it's keeping it simple. Like sometimes we overthink things, and we really just need to go, oh, well, if they see it at the top, they'll click it more,
So I love the simple approach here and how you're really thinking like a reader and really saying, okay, cool. Like, what are the simple things we can do to improve and progress and really figure things out? There's so much to unpack here, and we could talk for days about the power of simplicity, but we are running out of time. So Stevie, I wanted to thank you so much for the insights and the advice. If anyone wants to reach out and connect with you online, pick your brain, anything like that, how and where can they find you?
Yeah, so on X, I am Stevie KG, and Stevie is STEVI KAY 4K. And then just a G because my last name is Ginalfi. And then you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'm Stevie K.
I love it. Stevie, again, thank you so much for the time and insights today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben. It was really fun.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.